Gardeners are always looking for plants that are unique and unusual. And we're here today with Gerald Stephens with Nurseries Caroliniana in North Augusta, South Carolina, where the unusual is usual.
Right. We have a lot of real rare stuff, real regular stuff, but my brother is the plant collector, and he collects different plants all over the world, mostly like England and Japan. And one of the unique things about getting it from Japan is the climate there is very similar to ours, especially around Tokyo. So they know what works where we are because it works there.
So one of the plants that you guys bring back are Japanese maples.
Right.
Tell us about some of your favorites that are here.
Well, this might not be some of Ted's favorites and a collector's favorite, but one of my favorites is a tree, Japanese maple. It's a lace leaf, but it's upright, and it's green leaf, but it gets really large, and it's a really soft green that blows in the breeze really good. But it's just a neat tree. Another one that they brought back several years ago is called Ryusin, and it's a weeper, and it's a true weeper. If you didn't stake it, it'd probably crawl all over the ground, but we stake it up, and it makes it just a real neat weeping tree.
Another one of the plants that is very popular here are Osmanthus. Tell us about some of the Osmanthus that you have here.
That's probably our most popular plant, is one called Fooding Jew. And you know how tea olive is, the regular Osmanthus fragrance.
You'll usually smell them before you see them.
Yes, because the flower is so small. Well, this one, when it starts blooming in August or September, you can see it at 100 yards. It's just amazing, but the fragrance is still as good. Then we've got the orange tea olive, which is a really popular one.
Now, are we talking about the foliage, or are we talking about the flowers are orange?
The flower is orange, and it blooms usually in October. I always say October 15th for about 2 or 3 weeks, but it is stunning when it blooms. It is so orange, and the flowers are so large, and it is extremely fragrant. It's just a really neat Osmanthus. Then we've got a lot of the holly-looking tea olives. And they will bloom eventually, but most of the time they don't. But we've got some of the really variegated forms of it. Tea olives are just really popular, and they take a lot of different situations. Some of them will take full sun and full shade, so it works real good. In most of the state of South Carolina, it's just a great plant.
Tell us about some of the hostas that you have here.
We've probably got about 60 varieties of hosta also, and one of my favorites is a small leaf hosta that we for years couldn't grow well, or Ted was saying it was just hard to grow, it wouldn't do, so he threw it out. And when he threw it out, it was in the full sun, and it just flourished in full sun. So it's called cabotan, but it likes full sun. And it makes a nice little, almost like a ground cover, because it doesn't grow but about less than 6 inches high. But it still has the little flower, but it has little variegated leaves. It's really a neat little hosta. But there's the yellow varieties, and that'll just have really big leaves. There's the variegated forms that just have a real large variety of those.
Walking through the nursery, one of my favorite plants is one of the daylilies. It's very large and showy. Tell us about that daylily.
Okay, it's a daylily that gets 5 or 6 feet tall, the flower head. The foliage is normal, but the flower comes up, and it's 5 or 6 feet, and it's called autumn minaret. And it's just a real nice, it probably blooms for 4 to 6 weeks, and it's just a really neat, because of the height. I mean, you can stick that behind other things, and it'll just come jumping out above everything.
Which is unusual, because usually you have to put your daylilies up front.
Right. Well, this one you can put behind, because it's going to get there.
Now, this nursery has developed several different plants, and one of them that you guys have developed is a holly.
Right. There's a native holly to South Carolina and Georgia, the beaches, the sand dunes of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, called Yopon holly. And it's Ilex vomitoria. The foliage was used to make a tea as an ipecac, back in the, and it's called black tea, and the Indians use that. Well, we developed, or my brother developed one that's a compact grower, probably grows about 4 feet or so, but it's one of the heaviest berrying hollies there is. The neat thing about the berries on the Yaupon is it's very red, but it's very translucent, so it looks like it's almost, you can see through it, but it's real red. And it berries up so nice at Christmas time. So it's really a nice, and we call it Carolina Ruby.
Another plant that Nurseries Caroliniana has developed is a loropetalum. Tell us a little bit about
Well,
this
we've
plant.
got one that, you know, the loropetalum first started off with a green leaf and a white flower. Well, probably back in the 90s, they discovered one that had a pink flower with a maroon colored leaf, and gets rather large. Well, Ted kept getting developing seedlings of that one that has the pink flower with the maroon leaves, and he's got one now that has a real deep dark maroon foliage that's real glossy, but it also has a red flower or a reddish pink, and it's really neat, and it's called Garnet Fire, and that's going to be one of our trademark plants. But it's just a really neat color.
Gerald, thank you for having us at Nurseries Caroliniana and showing us all of these wonderful plants. And I know that home gardeners are going to want to be able to learn more about your plants. So tell us how to find you.
Well, go on our website. That's the easiest, and it's nurcar.com or nurcar.com. And also our phone number is 803-279-2707. Just give us a call and we'll help you.
Thanks so much for having us out, and I can't wait to get the lilies started at my house.
Great.